guys, today I'm here to do my February movie wrap-up. Even though I haven't been in the mood to read anything, I have been watching a lot of movies, and in February I watched lucky number 13 movies. So I'm going to share with you the movies that I watched. The first movie I watched was Anastasia. This is a rewatch for me. I've seen this 100 times. I really love this movie. There's another girl here on YouTube that's been doing kind of a watch-along every few weeks, and this was the first movie that she picked for our watch-along. I will leave her channel and her Twitter linked down below so you guys can watch along with us. Since this was a rewatch for me, I knew I already loved it, and this got 4 stars. Next, I watched Boy. I've really been into Taika Waititi's movies, so I decided to just sit down and watch a bunch of his movies that he's made, and I knew that Boy was a pretty popular one, so I picked that one up first. This is about an 11-year-old boy growing up in New Zealand in the 80s. His mother has passed away, he lives with his grandmother, and his father has left. His grandmother leaves for a few days, and when his grandma leaves, his father comes back to town. This is just a really funny and heartfelt movie about this son and his father, and how he looks up to his father even though he's a loser. The father is played by Taika, and I think he's absolutely hilarious in this. I really enjoyed this movie, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Next, I rewatched Labyrinth. Labyrinth is a classic. If you haven't seen it, you definitely need to watch it. I've seen this again 100 times, and I absolutely love it, and I gave this 5 stars. Next, I watched another Taika movie. This one's called Eagle vs. Shark. I didn't like this one as much as Boy, but it was still really awkward and funny. I laughed throughout the entire thing. This is about a girl who falls in love with this guy, and he decides that he's going to go home and fight this bully that bullied him when he was a kid. The man is played by Jermaine Clement, who is in a lot of Taika's movies, and was also in Flight of the Conchords and Moana. This movie was just super cringy, but it was totally supposed to be. It wasn't too bad, and I gave it 3 stars. Next, I watched My Old Lady. This is about a man, Kevin Kline, who moves to Paris. His father has just passed away, and he has left him this house. But when he gets to Paris, he realizes that it's kind of like a joint thing, and an old woman and her daughter is living there. The old woman is played by Maggie Smith. I think I really would have enjoyed this movie if it had been a lot shorter. The running time wasn't that long, it just felt like it went on forever. There were a lot of parts that I really liked in this movie, but since it did go on too long, I only gave this 2.5 stars. Next, I rewatched The Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. I pretty much watch these movies every few months. They are my favorite movies, and I will never get sick of them. Really nothing to say here, I just absolutely love this movie, so of course it got 5 stars. Next, I rewatched Midnight in Paris. This is also on Netflix, and it is one of my favorite movies. It is just as good as it was the first time, and I gave this 5 stars. Next, I watched Play Misty for Me. This is a movie with Clint Eastwood and Jessica Walter. Clint Eastwood works for the radio, and every night he gets a phone call for him to play Misty for her. He ends up meeting up with her, and she is nothing like he imagined. This lady is totally crazy, and she screams throughout the entire movie. It's not as good as I wanted it to be, but it was a good storyline, and I gave this 2.5 stars. Next, I watched I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. I just discovered this on Netflix one night, and I decided to watch it. This is about a depressed woman whose house gets broken into, and some things get taken, and she bands together with her crazy neighbor to go find out who took her things. This movie was totally different than what I thought it would be. It was extremely humorous, and I really didn't think it was gonna be. It was also extremely gory, so definitely watch out for that. I'm really glad that I found it and I checked it out, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. I definitely recommend checking this one out. Next, I watched The Ritual. I had seen a lot of people talk about this. It's on Netflix as well. I was a little leery of it because I thought it was going to be like The Blair Witch, and I don't really like those kind of movies. It's about these 4 guys who decide to go hiking in the woods, and some crazy things start happening. It was extremely freaky. I thought the ending went on a little long, and I don't really like when they show the monster. But other than that, I was on the edge of my seat through the entire thing, and I gave this 3.5 stars. Then I rewatched Moulin Rouge. This was for the watch-along that we did earlier in the month. I saw Moulin Rouge when it first came out, and I didn't really remember a lot about it. I remember I wasn't too keen on it, but I decided to rewatch it anyway. This movie is totally crazy, and I don't know what they were thinking when they made it. I know a lot of people really love this movie, but this one's just not for me. I feel like they tried too hard to be over-the-top crazy. I really love the music in this, but of course they've just taken it from other songs, and I gave this 2.5 stars. Next, I watched Happy Go Lucky. This has Sally Hawkins in it, which apparently is going to be the new big actress. And this is about her, and she's very happy-go-lucky. She really doesn't let anything get her down, and she's always positive. The only thing was she was just a little bit annoying to me, which I think was probably the point. But it was a really light, fun watch, and I gave this 2.5 stars. And the last one I watched in February was A Ghost Story. I had heard a lot about this, and I know a lot of people either really love it or really hate it. Unfortunately, I am the latter. I went into it knowing that it was going to be extremely unusual and slow. but if you haven't seen this, you have no idea how incredibly slow this movie is. It wasn't even a long movie and it felt like it went on for days. I thought it was a cool premise behind it, but it just really wasn't for me. And I gave this 2 stars. Okay, so those were the movies I watched in February. It was a really good watching month for me. I've already watched one this month that I can't wait to talk about because I really loved it. Let me know what your favorite movie was that you watched in February and if you've seen any of these movies and what you thought of them, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!